Hello to everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, and thank you very much for joining this webinar today. My name is Joseph Tom. I am a challenge manager at NATO Diana. I would be joined in the session today by my colleague Runa. Would you like to introduce yourself, Runa?
Hi, everybody. Very nice that you could all make it. I'm retired Professor Dr. Rune Linning, Challenge Manager at NATO Diana. Looking very much forward to taking you through this talk today.
Great, thanks, Runa. I'll be joined by a few more colleagues who we can introduce later in the call. But for now, let's proceed. I believe there's a short video we should be moving on to, and after that, we will move on to a presentation covering today's webinar. Okay, let's start. So I'm also joined on the call by my colleagues Chris and Matt. Matt, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Matt from the legal team here at Diana. Looking forward to today.
And Chris, please.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Chris. I'm the Accelerator Network Lead here at Diana and really happy to be here with you today.
Great. Thank you very much, colleagues. Okay, so the theme of today's webinar is an introduction to the challenge topics for 2026 and some important tips for a successful proposal. Before we start with the slides, a quick poll, which should appear on the screen shortly. A very simple question. Do you and your company have a DUNS or a UEI number? Hopefully that should appear on the screen very soon. Okay, yes, more than 80%. That's good news. Thank you for taking part in that. Okay, so let's move on to the agenda. Before I do, just to inform you that today's session is being recorded and will be available after the end of the session through a link on LinkedIn. So the agenda for today, we will give an introduction to the program, Diana, and the benefits of joining the program. We will talk you through the specifics of the accelerator program. That's a very important part of the Diana program as a whole. We will be excited to introduce you to the 10 new challenge topics for this year. We will then talk through some important tips for a successful proposal. Finally, we will talk through some legal aspects which are very important to remember when applying to the program. At the end of the slides, we will have a question and answer session. You should see a box on the left-hand side of your screen. Please, in that box, please type in your questions as we go through the questions, and we will have plenty of time at the end to go through them. Okay, so let me make a start. So today's webinar is on the challenge topics and tips for a successful proposal. Later in this month, Diana will be hosting a second webinar on understanding dual-use technologies. So what is Diana? Diana is the Defence Innovation Accelerator for the North Atlantic, a NATO body with a mission to find and accelerate the dual-use innovation. Through an alliance-wide network of innovators, accelerators, test centers, and end users, Diana is solving defense, security, and resilience challenges to support a more peaceful future. Diana sits at the center of a wider community of government, academia, industry, capital, and innovators, all aligned to Diana's mission of accelerating dual-use technologies towards the goal of increasing resilience in our NATO alliance. So this is a very quick overview of the Diana program. So we operate a yearly cycle, which is challenge-based. So we invite innovators to apply to specific challenges. Challenges are stated statements of need. We are operating 10 challenges this year, which have been formulated according to the needs of the NATO allies and various NATO bodies and stakeholders. So all of these needs are translated into challenge statements. The challenge statements are now available for you to see on the Diana website. There are 10 this year, covering many different aspects of technology. So once you have seen the challenge statements, we run a competitive selection process to select the companies who are best suited to each of the challenges. Once selected for the program, and I'll run through the selection process and criteria later in today's webinar, companies are selected to take part in the program. It's a two-phase program starting in 2026. The first phase is run over the first 6 months. Here, the companies attend an accelerator program. We'll hear a bit more about that in the next slides. In phase 2, for which there is a further down selection, there is a much more tailored response from our team, which is geared to the specific needs of each company. Throughout phase 1 and phase 2, companies selected to take part in the program have access to a very large network of test centers. This is one of the key benefits of the scheme. This enables companies to test and validate their technology in a very comprehensive network of test centers, which would not be possible to access if the companies were not part of the Diana program. There is also the scope throughout phase 1 and phase 2 for companies to take part in some sort of exercises organized by the NATO alliance. Following the completion of phase 1 and phase 2, the companies do not finish their involvement with Diana. There is an alumni network where companies are kept in the loop when it comes to connecting with important end users and investors in the wider community. Efforts also continue towards the adoption of the technology of each of the companies. Okay, with that, I'd like to hand over to Chris to talk through some of the specifics of the Accelerator program. Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph, and happy to be here with everyone today. So for those that don't know me, as I mentioned, my name's Chris. I'm the Accelerator Network lead here at Diana, and I'm really excited to talk to you about today about what is it that you would enter if you were successful through the Diana challenges. So I promise, Joseph, I won't take forever here, but I will give you a quick overview of what you would be getting yourselves into. So firstly, I really want to touch on the program is built around innovators. So as you can see in this slide here, we have the innovator at the center. And this very much is the mindset and the way of thinking in terms of Diana as an organization and how we structure our program for innovators. So when you enter our program into phase 1, you're first given a non-dilutive funding amount of 100,000 euros. And that is to be used over a period of 6 months. We have accelerator sites and quite a large accelerator network across the North Atlantic that help us deliver our program. Next year, there will be 17 sites delivering it, where this is quite a large increase from this year, which was 13. Innovators will be assigned to an accelerator site when they enter our program. And from that point, we work with our innovators very closely in our accelerator sites to deliver a dual-use defense and security program. Throughout that program, there's a series of lectures, trainings, and curriculum, which I'll go into more shortly. But what's really important is to know is that you have an opportunity to test and validate your solution throughout. And we have a network of over 180 test centers that help you do that. In addition to testing and validating solutions, you also have a network of mentors and experts from both the Dana side as well as our accelerator sites that come together and are assigned to help you throughout your journey through the program. And as we go through the program, which starts in early January, and move towards the end, we also are introducing you to industry and investors, looking for opportunities to help you further develop your solution. And on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see something about phase 2. So I'll talk about that a little bit more. But phase 2 is more focused on a portfolio-based approach, whereas phase 1 is more of an accelerator approach. If you were to be selected for phase 2, which every innovator has an opportunity to apply, you can receive another up to 300,000 euros to participate in another 6 months of programming. So this slide kind of gives you an overview of some of the pieces I just talked about. So what to really expect if you're getting yourself into these 6 months. So as I mentioned, the funding is 100,000 euros and it's non-dilutive. This is really great for an innovator because what it means is that it's not tied to strong milestones when you're receiving the funding, and you have a lot of flexibility in how you use that to participate in our program. While our program does have some mandatory aspects, such as travel to your accelerator site and global events that Dana puts on, there's flexibility still in how you can spend that. Training. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of training that Diana does both on the Dana side as well as with our accelerator sites to immerse you into the defense and security ecosystem. This is delivered both in a physical format and virtually, and through a series of events that are either hosted by our accelerator sites or Diana themselves. Networking. So as I mentioned, we really work hard to introduce you to end users, governments, and investors and identify potential opportunities as you work to develop your solution during the program. And as I mentioned, we have 180 test centers in our test center network, and we have a testing and validation process set up so that you can use that throughout your duration through the program to test and validate as you're learning and building. Mentorship. So as I mentioned, we have a really large mentor network. And what's really important to take away here is that while you have access to the larger database that we have, we ourselves assign you lead mentors to help with your solutions. So we identify with our accelerator sites the right mentors that would be able to support you on the business, technical, and defense domains. And with our challenge managers, they act really as our lead technical mentors here. So they're here to support you on the Dana side through your journey through the program. And what I want to touch on here is that while there's different phases to our program, and we're talking about phase 1 here, when you're joining Diana, you're joining an ecosystem. And so after your journey through phase 1, whether you apply to phase 2 or make it through or not, you'll become a member of the Dana alumni, and you will have access to further opportunities as Dana continues to grow and build on its mission. So, who are the key stakeholders that you would interact with if you were going through phase 1 of the program? So as I mentioned on the left-hand side, so you have the accelerator sites. So those would be your focal main point of contact throughout your duration of the program. They'd be able to answer programmatic questions that you have, as well as work with you and delivering a lot of content. On the Dana side, you have challenge managers who act as your main technical mentor or advisor throughout the program. So they help you facilitate connections as well as work with you to further develop your solution. And of the mentors, as I mentioned, we have a very large mentor network, but we really focus on assigning lead mentors to you to help guide you throughout the program and address your specific needs that you have. And overall, we have a whole Diana team who works in the background, who builds on the delivery of the program. So the way our program is really set up is that Diana leads heavily on the defense and security elements and does many global events throughout phase 1. But with the accelerator sites, we have them focusing on a more localized delivery point for us on a more frequent basis. So the whole Diana team is working behind the scenes to deliver for you throughout the program. And I'll pause there. And now, for the real reason where we're all here today is to learn about the topics that Diana has posted for their challenge call. I'm going to hand it over to our challenge manager, Rune, to walk you through those now. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Chris. And of course, it's a great pleasure to introduce you to the challenge call of this year and our very exciting topics. But before we get into that, let's just look at the timeline. So this is our challenge call timeline. As you might have seen already, we launched the challenges actually on Monday this week, the 2nd of June, in the morning, European time. That will then be open, so you can find our portal where you can submit your proposals up till the 11th of July at 1200 hours noon UTC. That's a hard stop there, so please try to be in time if you consider submitting something. And then we have to do our work. So the evaluation period, which you will later hear from my colleague Joseph about the details, that is our process where we start selecting and sorting out the different proposals. There will also be part of that, which is an interview, and we will, of course, give you all the details on this. After that, once you have actually been selected, there will be basically an announcement later in the year, in December, at some point. Date still to be determined, and then the onboarding will start. And we hope to do this onboarding already this year so that we can get you guys off a flying start in the new year in 2026. So this is the timeline. The topics I will go through, as Joseph already mentioned, we have 10, and we are just showing them in more or less arbitrary order. And the colors are also more or less arbitrary, so please don't read too much into this. We will show these as in pairs, so there will be 2 challenge areas on each slide for the next few minutes. The first one here, you see on the left, energy and power. And on the right, you see data-assisted decision-making. So for energy and power in orange, we are seeking dual-use solutions. This is something that is valid for all the challenges. So even if I forget to mention this is dual-use technologies, this is valid for all our challenges. And what is also valid is that this is something we seek as an alliance, and we do this because we think and hope and even know that these technologies and the solutions that you might propose can help us secure our alliance and build a stronger alliance, and hopefully also a stronger and more resilient society, as Joseph already went into. So energy and power is really about solutions that ensure reliable power, resilience against threats, attacks even, and adaptability to evolving conditions. That means also being able to respond to relatively dramatic events like we saw recently in Southern Europe. The other topic on the right here, data-assisted decision-making, is really about decision support and simulation modeling support and data-driven modeling for making complex decisions across different types of scenarios. You can imagine going from a warfighter scenario to a scenario which is more strategic, where we try to figure out what to do in our societies in response to different situations where we use data. And as you know, we use more and more data, and there's more and more types of modeling to analyze and make decisions on data and using data for decisions. So that is really a very broad challenge, and I think a very exciting one also. The next couple here is that's very fun, I think. So resilient space operations. This is really about not only space itself, but also terrestrial and orbital centers, secure communication system, data processing centers, advanced analytics, how to do risk analysis and planning for both both civilian and military space activities. Yes, NATO is also interested in space. And also technologies to support freedom of maneuver. Moving around in space is getting more and more complicated. You know this, we hear about it all the time. There's a lot of debris fields. There are uncertainties about where some of our friends, or maybe not so much friends, put their stuff. And so it's getting more and more hard to maneuver in space. That also includes novel propulsion systems, autonomous orbit and on-orbit servicing, assembly and maintenance. Very exciting stuff. Advanced communication technologies is also key. As you know, we can only use our data and collect data if we can also actually transport these and share them and talk about them and communicate about things. So we are seeking dual-use solutions that can enhance resilience and effectiveness of communication networks, particularly future communication networks, and very much next-generation communication technologies for robust and rapid exchange of data across decentralized computing, sensing, and communication networks. So again, very nice broad category. Please, everybody, also of course read the full text of each of these on our website and out there in the social media. You can find links also so that you can get all the ideas going and maybe see where you best fit in. The next couple of challenges is, first of all, contested electromagnetic environment. So this is something we, of course, all hear about from the Ukrainian environment, but also in general in our societies. Actually accessing the electromagnetic bands is getting more and more difficult. There's a lot of traffic that's bleeding into different spectra. But also if you have active attempts to actually prevent communication or exchange of electromagnetic communication, then you will have problems. So here we are seeking, again, dual-use technologies for navigation, data link, spectrum analysis, and management of spectrum. So actually managing how you get into certain spectra in the EM space is key, particularly for ensuring operational robustness and resilience in such either contested or congested environments. Now, of course, close to my heart, because I'm in the human resilience and biotechnologies area, this is all about biomedical tools, biotechnologies, bioengineering, bioproduction, synthetic biology, also looking at biodata, combat medicine, to actually synthetic production of different tools that we can use both in civilian or in military context. At the end of the day, we want to make sure we can protect our citizens and build stronger societies. That involves everything from actual healthcare and supporting individuals to also more strategic level approaches to how to deal with biological threats or other types of threats. So again, a very broad challenge. And if you were to go apply for this one, you might end up also talking more to me, at least. So the next set of challenges are, again, I think very exciting. So critical infrastructure, we hear about this all the time in the news. You know, we have a lot of this stuff. We have it all over the place. We have it on the land. We have it under the water. We've seen, activities trying to cut cables or rip cables. How do we deal with this? So here we are seeking, again, dual-use solutions that can ensure resilient and adaptable critical infrastructure. That means also that the infrastructure itself should be able to respond and send out signals to us that something is happening, and maybe even be able to somehow adapt to it, rewire things or whatever that might be relevant there. The same goes for logistics. That is, again, a very broad category, critical category across all types of operations and supply chains. So really think broadly here, and I think it's a critical challenge. It's something that affects everything we do in our societies, and really we are looking very much also forward to a lot of exciting proposals there. Operations in extreme environments. So this is, as if you read the text, you will very much see what we are looking for here is across, again, all sort of activities, not only to do with humans, but also maybe things that happen underwater or in extreme other types of environments. So when you have a lot of corrosion, or so more chemical extreme environment, or when you are in a very cold environment like in the Arctic, things that can help batteries survive in the north or give you longer time recharging and so on, or keeping actually humans alive, which is a big challenge both in the cold areas and also if you're in the desert. So again, here, very broad and exciting challenge where we're looking at many different types of aspects, and I strongly encourage you also to read the full proposal there for all of these guys. Okay, maritime operations. You can guess this is key for us in the Alliance, but also for our societies. A lot of our trading and a lot of our supply chains still rely on global shipping and moving stuff around on the oceans. So here we're seeking integrated solutions that can provide real-time or even faster than real-time situational awareness and decision making. So it gives a decision support, data-driven approaches or modeling approaches to empower operations across vast maritime theaters and areas. So for me, this is very close to me. I love this stuff because I'm a sailor, but you might also have another perspective that still makes you very attracted to the Maritime Operations Challenge. So please, again, read the full text. Lastly, here we have autonomy and unmanned systems. So we are actively seeking innovative autonomous technologies and effective countermeasures. In particular, this is very critical. Anything that can help enhance protection against the full spectrum of unmanned systems. So not only vehicles and drones, anything that can kind of move around and is unmanned. We really need you guys to help out and come up with solutions and ideas for how to deal with this. So these are the challenges that we hope will get you all excited and looking forward to further engagement around that stuff. Okay, so with this, I will hand over to my friend and colleague, Joseph, who will take you through our evaluation process. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Rune. Yes, so let me talk you through the evaluation process for this year. So we have a 3-step process. The first 2 steps consist of written assignments. Step 3 is a virtual session. So step 1 is a short form proposal where we invite you to, in a very brief format, outline your idea and why it's suitable for the Diana program. The short form proposals will be assessed by 3 evaluators, all of which are of a technical nature. Proposals that pass step 1 will be progressed to step 2. In step 2, we invite you to outline your proposal in more detail, in more words, and to address in more detail why your solution is appropriate for a dual-use program. At step 2, the application is evaluated by evaluators who are technical, be 2 of those, and also an evaluator with experience as an end user, so someone who would typically be adopting the types of technologies that you'd be proposing, and also someone from the commercial and adoption background. So someone with experience of the commercial aspects of your technology being used and paid for in the civilian or the defense and security environment. So to emphasize, all companies applying to the scheme should submit applications to step 1 and to step 2 before the deadline of July the 11th. Companies that are selected to progress to step 3 will be invited to a virtual session where they will pitch their technology in front of a panel consisting, again, of evaluators with a technical, end user, and a commercial and adoption background, and also one of the challenge managers from NATO, Diana. Companies that pass all 3 of the selection steps will be selected to join the cohort for next year. Okay, so in brief, I will talk through these aspects in a bit more detail in a later slide, but these are the components of each of the steps. So as I mentioned before, step 1 and step 2 are both written applications. In step 1, we invite you to outline the alignment of your proposed solution to the challenge. So each of your applications must be aligned to one of the challenges. We also invite you to outline the technical approach and how you'd intend to develop your technology throughout the program, along with some appropriate risks and mitigations. We'd also invite you to outline why your solution has potential for a dual-use business case. In step 2, we invite you to consider the same aspects, but in a bit more detail. So firstly, we ask you to submit an abstract summarizing your proposal. Again, there are sections on alignment to the challenge, a description of your technical solution, why your solution has dual use potential, and importantly, in step 2, we also invite you to explain why your solution is well positioned to be adopted both within the civilian sector and the defense and security sector. Similarly to step 1, we have a section where we invite you to outline your technology development roadmap along with appropriate risks and mitigations. Also, at step 2, we invite you to explain how you would spend the €100,000 funding provided at step 2 and how you would use this funding to both develop your technical solution throughout the program and support your attendance at the accelerator program. Step 3, as I mentioned before, is a very different format. It will be a live online session where you are invited to give a 10-minute pitch of your solution. This will be followed by a 20-minute session where the panel will ask questions relating to your submission. Okay, so on this slide, I will talk you through the evaluation criteria. So these are the aspects that the evaluators will be assessing each application on. So at step 1, all of the sub-criteria are of a nature that is technical. So we're looking at the alignment of the proposed solution to the challenge. Is the solution valid? Is it based on sound scientific and technical principles? Feasibility, is it possible, realistically, for the solution to be developed within the suggested timeframe? Does the solution have dual use potential? And do all elements of the step 1 proposal point towards a successful outcome? At step 2, the criteria are split into 4. We have technical criteria, criteria related to defense and security, criteria related to commercial and adoption, and also some aspects of a general nature. So under technical, we have alignment, validity, and feasibility, as in step 1, and an extra sub-criteria on the novelty of your proposed solution. Under defense and security, we are looking for the relevance of the solution to defense and security. This means, does the proposed solution address a current capability need within defense and security? And also impact. So if the solution were adopted into a defense and security environment, would this have a tangible effect on the capabilities of the alliance? Under commercial and adoption, we are looking for viability. So does the proposed solution have true potential for being adopted both within civilian environments and within defense and security? We will also be assessing the commercial approach. This means, does the proposal outline a sensible approach to addressing the markets identified in both the civilian and the defense and security sectors? Under general, we're looking at how you would plan on spending the €100,000 allocation, and importantly, how would you propose developing the solution alongside the commitment to attend the accelerator program and engage in other important aspects of the Diana program. Lastly, we are looking at the Diana suitability. So is your company and your solution one that would benefit from the Diana program and the various benefits offered by the program? At step 2, you will be awarded a score for each of the sub-criteria, as is the case for step 1. At step 3, the criteria and the sub-criteria are the same as for step 2. However, at step 3, you are only awarded a score for each of the 4 criteria, and the sub-criteria are only considered as factors which influence your score for the main criteria. Okay, so now I'd like to talk through some aspects and some hints on what makes a good proposal. So I won't spend too much time on this because when you come to submitting a proposal, you will be presented with this text in the application portal. But these are the fields and the guidance texts you will be given when you come to submitting an application. So this is the guidance text for the short form proposal. So there'll be 4 sections. 1 is the alignment to the challenge. So what aspect of the challenge are you addressing and what is novel about your solution? 2, the approach you have in your technical solution. This is a very important section where you should clearly outline what your solution is, how it works, and what makes it unique. We also have a section on the roadmap. So what is a TRL of your solution and how will that be developed throughout the course of the program? And we recognize that all development of technology comes with risks. So we would like to see these risks being identified and how they would be mitigated also. Lastly, we invite you to outline the business case of your dual use technology as well. Again, to clarify, all of this text will be available on the portal when you come to submitting your application. So for step 2, the long form proposal, similarly, this is the exact text that you will see when you come to submitting an application. But just briefly, at step 2, we have 7 sections, as I mentioned earlier. So the first is the abstract, where you give a very brief pitch of your technology. 2 is the alignment to the challenge. So how does your solution address the themes contained in 1 of the 10 challenges? Part 3, again, is a very important one, where here, in step 2 particularly, you have the chance in detail to outline your technical solution and what makes it unique. In part 4, in more detail, we would invite you to outline the dual use potential of your solution. So we're looking for you to outline applications of your technology in the civilian sector and in the defense and security sector. An important point to make is we're not expecting all companies to have a detailed knowledge of the defense and security sector, but we do expect you to have some ideas, at least, on how the technology can be deployed within defense and security. Okay, so part 5 is the dual use business case. So here we're looking at more commercial aspects. Is there a market for your solution within the civilian sector and, importantly, in the defense and security sector? Part 6 is where, in more detail, in part 2, step 2, you get to outline your roadmap of development of your solution over the course of the program. we also invite you to outline the current state of your technology, the current level of TRL, and how that will be advanced throughout the program. In part 7, we invite you to outline how you will spend the €100,000 allocation, and also to outline how you will commit to developing your solution at the same time as committing to the requirements of the Diana program. Okay, so that was a summary of the application format for step 1 and step 2. I will now talk you through some hints. These are based on strengths and weaknesses that we have seen from previous applications. So firstly, you are the owners of your solution. We expect you to provide a clear description of your solution. What does it do? How does it work? And who needs it? This is a dual-use program, so we are looking for applicants to outline a good understanding of the dual-use potential of the solution. Also, we look for applications that clearly outline how the solution could benefit from the program, i.e. the test center network, the feedback from the end users, and so on. As I was saying before, we recognize that all development of technology comes with risks, so we are looking for you to have a good understanding of the risks associated with your development and how these can be mitigated. We also like to see a realistic, milestone-based approach to the technology development roadmap. It's also important that you demonstrate an awareness of how your proposed solution and your company sits in relation to the competitive landscape that your technology sits within. Finally, it's good to have a balanced spend plan that supports not only the development of your solution, but also the commitment to the Diana program elements and aspects. Okay, so finally, I'll talk you through some areas for improvement that we've seen in previous applications. So having a great idea is fantastic, but we do need to see proposals that have a clear idea of how the product can be developed into, how the technical solution can be developed into a product that can be deployed within the civilian sector and the defense and security sector. Also, proposals that lack detail on the technology and how the technology works have not been assessed well. This is a program that's dual use, so all applications must show potential for dual use adoption. Failure to do that would be considered a big weakness. Obviously, we're looking for companies which can benefit from our program. So companies which did not outline why they would benefit from the program also did not score highly. At the same time, proposed solutions which had extremely ambitious and unrealistic expectations for their development over the program also did not score highly. Another reason for applications not scoring well was that the solution was not distinguished well from its competitors, or not shown to be innovative or disruptive. Finally, spend plans that did not indicate a successful application of developing the solution whilst attending the accelerator program and other Diana elements were not scored highly. Okay, I hope they were useful tips for submitting a successful application. Okay, now I'd like to hand over to my colleague Matt to talk through some legal aspects.
Thanks very much, Joseph. So yeah, just a few short points from me. So for the 18% of you that don't yet have a DUNS or a UEI number, essentially they're an internationally recognized means of identifying businesses. It's pretty straightforward to obtain one. You can see the link in the top right of this slide here, and you'll be able to find this in our FAQs on the portal. So all you have to do is click on it, go to the country in the top right of the website, find the country where you're registered, and then apply for one. The time it takes to receive your DUNS number does vary by country, but if you go ahead and apply now, you have plenty of time. So for those of you that do have a DUNS or UEI already, just enter it into the challenge portal when submitting your proposal. If you are just about to apply for one now, you should hopefully receive it by July 11th, the challenge call closing. If you do, just submit it similarly along with your proposal. If you haven't yet received it by July 11th when the challenge call closes, you can still submit your proposal. You just need to put a tick box and attest to the fact that you have applied for one, and note that it has to be provided to Diana by 15th of August 2025 if you are to proceed through the selection process. So if you don't have one, please go ahead and get one straight away. Really just a few short considerations and hopefully answer some questions you may have. The selection process that the team has described is a highly rigorous and competitive one, and it does involve thousands of hours of expert evaluation. So it is important that both you and your broader team read the terms and conditions of bidding, so you're aware of what to expect through this process and the conditions for participating in it. There are obviously 10 challenges this year, all of which are very interesting, and you may have multiple solutions. So it is possible to submit proposals to more than one challenge, but if you're going to do so, you have to submit a different solution or a different proposal to each challenge. If you go through this 3-step selection process and you're successfully selected, Diana does enter into a framework agreement or a contract with each company. When doing so, it doesn't take any intellectual property rights in the solution that you propose, and nor does it take any equity in your business. But what we do at Diana, having entered into an agreement with you, is provide contractual funding to enable you to continue iterating your solution in response to the challenge, and also to commit to the accelerator program, which is quite intense, does require travel, so do factor that into your considerations. And just to be clear what we mean by iterating your solution, it's essentially the development work that you do when on the program to increase the technology readiness level of your solution and adapt it if necessary to end user needs. And this iteration, this development work is based on the information you get through the accelerator program, the testing opportunities, and the dialogues that you'll have with end users at the events you get exposure to. So that's all from me. I'll pass back to Joseph.
Great, thank you very much for that, Matt. Okay, so that concludes the slides. So we will now move on to the question and answer session. Looks like there were lots of great questions throughout the presentation. So let us move on to addressing those now. Okay, so the first question is from Francis. So the Diana 2026 presentation stated a short description is needed for stage 1. And a long, can the question come back somehow? It's disappeared from my screen. I wish I'd memorized it before it disappeared.
So it's regarding a long form, and do they need to submit both, I think was the intent.
Okay, so yes, for this year's application process, before the deadline of July the 11th, you will need to submit the step 1 and the step 2 application. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Okay, so from the same member of the audience. Should we define the TRL of our product and what it's expected to reach by the end of 2025, given the time gap before the program begins? We want to ensure our timeline aligns with Jana's expectations. So for this question, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Emma Ryan, who I'd like to invite to introduce herself.
Hi, Nita. You know. We're having a few issues on microphones. I do apologise, and it's always me having those issues. So regarding this, it's a really good question and not one that's come up before. So we will update our FAQs to make sure that everyone is consistent, but we expect it to be the technology readiness level that your product is currently at. So thank you very much for that question. And we will, as I say, update our FAQs on our website and on our portal to make sure that all innovators are consistent with that. I would also like just to briefly address that. We've seen a lot of questions come up that are already addressed in our frequently asked questions and on our terms and conditions. So I would thoroughly recommend that you read both the terms and conditions and the frequently asked questions page in case your question doesn't come up, because it may already be addressed.
Great, thank you very much, Emma. Okay, let's move on to the next question, please. Okay, from Martin. Regarding software solutions, no matter the challenge, is there an obligation to reveal our code, or is it part of the selection process or while being in the program? I think I can answer this one. So throughout the selection process, there will be no requirement whatsoever to reveal the actual code behind your software solution. We would expect you to outline the benefits of your solution, what makes it different to what's gone before, why it's an appropriate dual use solution, all the aspects I talked about earlier in the presentation. But yes, there is no obligation whatsoever to reveal the code that underpins your solution. Okay, thank you. Next question, please. Okay, another question. So if we look at the potentially high travel and accommodation costs, depending on the hub's location, is there a recommended or typical ratio for allocating funding between travel and development? For this question, I would like to turn to Matt, please.
I think Chris wants this one.
Oh, in that case, I might turn to Chris.
I'm happy to take this one. It's a really good question. I just wanted to talk about it, actually. So the travel, it's kind of up to you how you spend your funding on travel. What I will say is that the money that you spend comes from the 100K. So there isn't an extra supplement for travel costs related to the program. To give you an idea of how much travel would be entailed, it could be up to once per month over those 6 months. And that could be either to your assigned accelerator site, or it could be to a global event that Diana is putting on itself. And in terms of travel, so the travel that we require in the program is mandatory, and we also usually expect that the same persons or people are attending each of the clusters throughout the 6 months of phase one. But there's definitely flexibility in how much you spend. I don't want to give you a ratio, but in my experience, I would say definitely factor in the travel costs early on once you have a plan in terms of what you'd like to accomplish throughout phase one. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, so from Karen. Are you looking for elements of a solution or only end-to-end? Our acoustic software boosts the performance of existing sensors and works in real-world environments without prior knowledge. So yes, I think I can answer this one. So we're looking for a variety of different types of technologies, from components to subsystems up to full systems. So last year we had the most basic of components all the way through to full systems. So yes, what you described, Karen, would be suitable for the program, most certainly. Okay, the next question, please. Okay, when we write technology is described as cutting edge, are you referring to near-term deliverable solutions or long-term? Runa, do you want to have a go at this one?
So of course, I mean, cutting edge here is meant to mean that we are not looking for things that already exist, but actually going back to disruptive technologies. So things that are potentially something that can deliver a capability that we have not had so far, or that go along with a strategy and a business strategy that might also disrupt something and make it much more easily accessible or cheaper for the alliance. That goes both in the civilian and military area. But in terms of, I mean, we are still looking for solutions that are, in the range of at least TRL around 4. So, how you assess this is always something you can discuss. But so we are not looking at something that doesn't exist at all, unless you think you can have this ready by the start of a program, so to speak. So I think cutting edge, there's much more referring to that we want to make sure we see things that are kind of wild and exciting, but that can be a very different thing in many different technology areas. And I would not, please don't be discouraged by that wording. I mean, just look at, if you feel like attracted to a challenge, then, and you feel you have something helpful to offer and that we should look at, then please send in a proposal. That's what I would say.
Great, thank you for that, Runa. Okay, a question from Martin. The advantage of being a primarily civilian company that wants to access defense sector is obvious. Does that work the other way as well? Say we are a defense tech company that wants to expand into the civilian sector. So yes, I can answer this one. So in previous years' cohorts, we've had companies across a very large spectrum. Some of them very much companies orientated towards defense. Some of them companies which are very much orientated towards the civilian world, both of which have found great benefit in the program. So yes, companies which are defense orientated may find great benefit in being part of the program. Similarly, companies which are purely working in the civilian sector will also benefit greatly from the program. The program is set up to be dual use in nature, but we don't expect all companies to be dual use entirely at the start of the program. It's simply the case that once admitted into the program, we encourage companies to adopt a dual use strategy, whether they are more from the civilian world to start with or more from the defense and security world to start with. Okay, next question, please. Okay, question from Matthew. Is the application confidential or should we consider it a public release? For this one, I will turn to our Matthew, please.
It's confidential, so all proposals that you submit are safeguarded. All evaluators are under strict confidentiality obligations. One thing to bear in mind when you review the terms and conditions is it is possible to opt in or opt out of sharing with NATO and stakeholders. I would encourage you to opt in. The intention of this is to facilitate opportunities at a national or a multinational level, whether it's the broad innovation ecosystem or similar programs. But for the basic answer is the proposal you submit is confidential and everybody that views it is under confidentiality obligations.
Great, thank you for that, Matt. Okay, next question, please. Okay, question from Christina. When applying, do we propose a solution that already exists at our company, or can we apply with an idea of a solution that we plan to develop through this program? I think for the program, we're looking for technologies which are roughly in the sweet spot of TRL 4 to 7. So in my understanding, you should have a technology in-house which is at that level of development already. It would be difficult for me to see how day one of the program you could develop a technology from nothing at all to TRL 4 roughly. So I think my guidance would be that we would expect you to have technology which is roughly at the level of TRL 4 before commencing the program. Do you have anything to add to that, Rune?
No, I think that's very precisely put. But again, I think it's more we like all TL levels, but of course it's not it can always be discussed exactly where you are. So please don't feel discouraged if you feel you are more like at 3 and not reaching 4. And please still send a proposal because we want to see it. So it's not let's say bulletproof science, right? It is some assessment that we make. And one critical point I want to make that maybe can answer one of the other questions I saw is that you can have very different TL levels in the civilian market versus in the military or in the defense market. So one classic example is if you are a biotechnology company or a pharmaceutical company and you have something that is not approved for FDA or if have FDA approval, but actually in a military medical connection, particularly in special operation forces, such drugs can actually be used if there's the right medical supervision placed. So that means you could have essentially a very low TL level from a point of view of a civilian market, but in the military setting, this might be very different. Just to give one example, I think Emma have a few thoughts on this also. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Rune. Let's move on to the next question. We have time for maybe a few more. Okay, a question from Junga. Do you take letters of support or proofs of prior proof of concepts or user validations? For this question, I would like to turn to Emma, please.
Wonderful. So I'd like to cover this question and a few more that came up. So you cannot attach letters of support or anything like that to your proposals. You can refer to them in your the written proposals. However, we cannot consider any external documents or anything but what you contain in your proposal. So we will not be reviewing any external documents, any websites, any links that you put in as part of the evaluation process. And I just wanted to make that particularly clear. I just wanted to touch on images and character limit. There was someone concerned that the proposals are 30,000 words and they're 100 pages. They are not. The proposals, I think, amount to 30,000 characters, so it's 5 pages in total. So I just wanted to make that very clear. We do not expect a 100-page proposal. We are looking for approximately 5 pages, but it is set out and limited within the form and within the portal. The other thing I'd like to add is around images. So again, within the portal and the form that we have set out for proposals, you are limited to 2 images for the quad chart and 3 images for the long form proposal. These do have to be images. They may contain some text, such as a label or a little bit of text, but they cannot be text heavy. And if they are just an image with loads and loads of text, that will make you ineligible and you will not pass the eligibility sift and will not be considered eligible for evaluation. So please don't use the image section to put in loads of text to try and overwrite the character limit that we have put in. So I just wanted to make that clear with that question.
Great, thanks, Emma. Okay, maybe time for 2 or 3 more. Next, please. Okay, question from Oscar. Regarding the testing centers, are there any costs associated for running testing protocols through them, and which certifications would be awarded? Are those testing centers academic or privately owned? Yeah, so perhaps I can answer that one. So the costs for testing, there is a separate amount of funding for testing. So costs for testing do not come out of the 100,000 euros allocation for step 1. You will apply for testing funding in a separate process once admitted to the program. The nature of the test centres themselves, there's 180 of them, so they span a wide variety of different types of facilities, but on the whole, they're not typically universities. They're kind of mainly commercially orientated or labs owned by and run by the governments of the respective nations. Okay, let's move on to the next question. How are the accelerator hubs assigned to participating companies based on the company's location or aligned with the application focus and expertise of the specific hub? This is one for Chris, please.
Yeah, happy to take that, Joseph. Really good question. So we look at a number of factors. So the short answer is it's a multi-factor approach. But one of the things you'll be asked in your application with the challenges is, do you have a preferred geographic preference? So we do take a look at a geographic proximity, of course, to take into consideration the travel time and distance. But what's even more important is we take a look at the specialty areas of technical expertise for the accelerators and where they align to our challenges of the current year and where they feel most comfortable supporting, as well as the needs of a particular innovator. So we do take a look very much so at your application. We take a look at all kinds of data that we actually collect throughout the year and at different points on our accelerators. And then we, of course, take into consideration your preferences that you will be listing during the process. So thanks for that question. It's a really good one.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Next, please. A question from Maria. How are mentors assigned? Can we choose from a list of experts, or do you match them to the company's profile? Do we have only one main mentor, or do we work with a team? This is another one for you, Chris, please.
Yeah, really good one, and I'm glad you asked that question. So typically, a lot of our mentors and experts are actually brought to us from our accelerator sites. So we have we have a system where we have a large pool of mentors and experts, and we have access to that on the challenge manager side. But when you get assigned to an accelerator site, they'll actually be working with us and you to assign lead mentors. So as I mentioned, a business one, a technical, a defense. While the challenge manager takes a very much leading technical role on the Dana side, the business and the defense for sure are going to come from the accelerator site that you're assigned to. So they have large existing pools of mentors and experts that are under an arrangement with Diana, but they're available to you, and they will assign them to you based on your needs.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Maybe the last couple of questions, one from Karen. So should our response to the challenge focus more on the challenge summary or on the scenario? Runa, do you want to take this one?
I think it's very important, again, to keep an open mind. The illustrative scenarios are really just examples that we are putting to get you to think out of the box, which you already are, I'm sure. But please don't, if you're not on that list or don't even see your tech listed, please just send it in and we will look at it, because the point is, this is we are trying to encourage innovation, and we're trying to invite you, and that's also why we are trying to make relatively broad challenges. But we of course also want to give examples, but apply. Please don't take this as some kind of a restrictive list. They are just exemplar scenarios and technology that we are listing there. And also, we cannot know what we don't know, right? So if you have something that we didn't know about, please let us know. That's the main point here. Thanks.
Great.
Good question.
Great answer, Rune. Thank you for that. Okay, one more. So can we submit varying TRL levels for both commercial and defense use cases? I think we would be looking for you to submit an idea or a technical solution that you would wish to progress through the program. So I think we would be looking for you to identify a single level of TRL on admission to the program. The solution you're developing is for the dual use nature. So we'd be looking for you to nominate a solution which you wish to advance with a dual use strategy. So a single TRL for both and a plan on how you develop from your starting position in terms of the TRL. Do you have anything to add to that, Runa?
No, only the example I gave before that, of course, these can be different, but I think Emma had the point also around the portal where we can put the TRL level. There might be also a text field. Did you want to make a statement on that?
Yeah, just from a functional point of view, when putting TRLs into the portal, you can only select one TRL when you're asked questions about your company and your proposals. So please refer to Joseph's answer on that and do it based on the solution that you'd like to develop during Diana. However, should you want to mention the TRL of your commercial use case or the defence use case within your written application, then please do it within either the short form or the long form. That is acceptable.
Yeah, it's a great point. Thanks for that, Emma. Okay, do we have any more questions or should we be moving on?
That's questions finished.
Okay, super. Thank you very much for taking part in the question and answer session. Okay, so we are at the end almost. Before we get there, let's have another poll. So, are you planning to apply to multiple challenges? Let's just wait for people to submit a response. Okay, that's very interesting. Yes, more than half. Okay, thank you for that information. Okay, we would now like to present a short video to give you a flavour of the companies that were selected to take part in the programme last year.
Diana is the Defence Innovation Accelerator for the North Atlantic, a bold new enterprise identifying and supporting innovators from across NATO to help the alliance maintain its technological edge, protect its 1 billion citizens, and build a peaceful and more resilient future. Diana is already working with some of the planet's most dynamic and exciting young companies, giving them access to defence expertise and investors, as well as training, funding, and commercial advice. In turn, helping them find dual-use solutions to some of the world's biggest defence and resilience challenges. In the coming weeks, we'll be starting the search for a whole new group of innovators, giving you the chance to follow in their footsteps.
In 3 words, the Diana program for us has been inspirational, it's been intense, and it's been a lot of fun.
Being part of the Diana network as a small startup has been absolutely transformative.
The Diana program has been a very special experience. We've had a chance in the past couple of months to meet all kinds of NATO stakeholders from across the world.
Yeah, the biggest discovery for me was finding other Diana companies doing complementary technologies.
Being part of the Diana Accelerator has really accelerated our company because we're quite in the early stages, so it has helped raise awareness.
I would like to thank to the whole Diana team for the opportunity and for taking care of us. It's really something important for us.
If you have an idea which you think could contribute to Diana's mission, then please go to our website to find out more. Diana, uniting disruptors to shape a peaceful future.
Great. Okay, we are now at the end of today's session. So big thanks to my colleagues, Chris, Matthew, and Emma for answering the questions and presenting the slides. Runa, do you have any words to sign off with?
Just to say, first of all, thank you for joining. And of course, we are really looking forward to seeing all your fantastic ideas. And remember also to show and give us an impression of yourself, actually. What are you as a team? Where are you going? How are you planning to move ahead with this challenge? It will be also to get accelerated. And that's something we value a lot. We will get a very close relationship eventually once you get in the program. So it's important for us to also see a little bit of that beforehand. So please take it away, and even big and small teams, doesn't matter. We are very much looking forward to seeing your applications. This is really going to be very exciting for us. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Rune. And to echo that, big thank you from me for joining today's session and for finding time in your schedule to listen to us. I hope you've been encouraged to apply to the scheme. If you're in any doubt at all between applying and not applying, I would echo Rune and say apply. It's a great program. I think some of the companies you just heard from would attest to the fact that the program can have a truly transformational effect on your company. So if you're in any doubt about applying, please do so. And we are looking forward very much to seeing your exciting proposals and solutions. But that's it. Thank you once again for joining, and have a great day. Thank you.